Hello, Jason Kenney. I saw your picture on your Facebook where you're wearing mismatched socks. Here's my problem. For a guy that claims that he supports people with disabilities, you sure have a funny way of showing it. Straight out of the starting gates, you went after all the blind centers. That was like 2 years ago, or just over. Not only did you deny funding to those programs, but a lot of those programs had to shut down clear across Alberta. When you did that, you put a lot of families and a lot of kids and a lot of people in a huge lurch. Because what happens if your nearest place or major town is like, say, Lethbridge, and you're in Booneyville, Coaldale? You deny funding for resources like that. That means that people that can't drive because of visual impairments can't get to places like Edmonton or Calgary, which are the two last remaining places for the blind centers. Even those places had to scale back on their programs because you denied them funding. Then there's the part where you went after PDD. I was one of the ones you attacked. I had PDD. I was grandfathered. From a girl that came in a time where things were just about person-centered. Basically, they relied on your diagnosis versus the cookie cutter system they have now, where they pay HCAs and hope they know enough about neurodiverse issues to be able to help me. No, what they know is severe issues, and they know how to basically change you if you should poop yourself. Good on you. Yeah, HCAs might be cheaper, but what I need took probably about 4 years of college just to get where they're at in life to help people like me. Got a hair in my mouth. Gotta love cats. They have hair everywhere. Moving on. So, for a guy who claims that he supports Down Syndrome Day, here's the problem. Not all Down syndrome people wear mismatched socks. As a matter of fact, I know of Down syndrome people that dress better than you. Just saying. I am a girl with autism. A lady who went through her own life, not knowing what she had until she was 39. But hey, what do you care? For a guy who supports things like Down Syndrome Day, I wonder what you'll come up with when it comes to Autism Awareness Month next month. What are you going to do? Support things like ABA therapies, for which autistics around the world are saying that's a goddamn nightmare. This is what caused my PTSD. I'm one of the lucky few that can say that they're privileged enough to say that they've never been through those programs. But I've talked to a great many in my time since I was 39 that said, if you ever have kids, don't ever put your kids through that. Because those therapies are conversion therapies for autistic children. We're basically taught that it's okay to be ourselves as long as we're looking like, sounding like average folk, as in people without disabilities. Here's the problem. There's no such thing as normal except for the cycle on a washing machine. That's the only place you'll ever find normal. So us autistics are taught in these therapies that our unwanted behaviors are odd. And those ABA therapies are there to school us on how to make a neurotypical comfortable. What about making us comfortable in a world made for neurotypicals like yourself? A neurotypical is anyone without a disability. Just saying. ABA practices are banned in a lot of towns, or becoming banned in a lot of towns. Or I should say conversion therapy practices, especially when it comes to LGBT2S2, I think, if that's what it's called. Not sure of the lingo on this one, but nonetheless, if the gay community would be willing to correct me on this, that would be wonderful. I'm kind of new to this, so kind of forgive me for my inadequacies. The problem that I see within our disability community is that there isn't enough support being given by governments across the board, no matter if you are federal or provincial. Especially these days here in Alberta, it's provincial. Starting with your cabinet, Mr. Kenney. Yes, Jason Kenney, I'm talking about you. De-indexing AISH, forcing a lot of my friends in dire situations. People on BFE lost close to $700 off their checks when you took away their medical expense and as well as transportation expenses. That little extra that allowed them to kind of get through the month. It also allowed them to be able to afford their bus passes. Nope, that was denied. Yeah. Okay, now people can't get to their appointments on time or their workers or whatever they need to do because of you. Thanks. This from a disabled person. Oh, let's see. De-indexing AISH. Right on there. I know of people that have lost in the last 2 years over $100 just off their AISH checks. BFE, I've seen people lose up to almost $400. Yeah, within the last year especially. So, moving on. Yeah. Okay, you can't go through the back door or front door because we're fully aware that you're loving this. So you try the back door. Not only did you change the pay dates on their AISH checks, but you also changed around their medicals. Sure, a lot of people do qualify for aids to daily living, but what about those that don't? Yeah, that's your doing, buddy. Now I got friends paying over $400 off their AISH check just to get their medical. As in, all of their meds. But hey, it's quite okay with you. It's okay. Let's honor Down Syndrome Day by showing a picture of you wearing mismatched socks. Yeah, real cool, dude. Oh, wait. Isn't it ironic that next month is Autism Awareness Day? I have autism. What are you going to do? Insult the disability community even more? By supporting Autism Speaks? Supporting ABA therapies? I'm a 46-year-old that says that if every town in Alberta is considering or have done this by banning conversion therapies within their towns for LGBTs community. Here's one thing that people forgot. ABA therapies to most autistics is a form of conversion therapy. Because those therapies is a reward system for wanted behaviors. So if you rock and you're autistic, that's considered an odd behavior, unwanted. Because it's a therapy to make sure that the autistic can make you neurotypicals comfortable around us because we're already odd. Oh, wow. Cry me a fucking river. Yeah, I know. I'm being a smart ass. I'm being facetious. I'm being sarcastic. You know what? Why should I feel sorry for a neurotypical who went after the people that I care about, that I defend? Why should I feel comfortable? Why should I make myself even more comfortable for all the neurotypicals in the world to suit their need when they go after the very programs and resources that people with disabilities need and think it's okay to deny people the one thing that allows us to navigate a world not made for us? But it's quite okay with you. Because in your books, we don't matter. Yeah, you say you support us. Where's the support? People say we're in this together during COVID. Well, so far I've seen bad attitudes, a lot of discrimination against people with disabilities. I myself have been kicked out of stores for not wearing the right mask. hate to say this, a mask is a mask. As long as you wear the frickin' muzzle, you're okay. But it's not their mask. What happens if their mask puts me in a meltdown? There's no support for anyone out over the age of 18 if they're like me. But what do you care? Because it's quite okay to go after Puff. FSCD for moms that have kids with disabilities that'll end up like me, like my friends. Yeah, it's quite okay to not allow children the right supports to endure a day of class when they have developmental disabilities and not enough experience in their brain to describe what the hell is going on in their head if they have a meltdown. All they can do is react. That's not onerous, isn't it? Is it? Yeah, okay, whatever. But hey, what do you care? Because you're riding the big wave right now, Mr. Kenney, where you get to put yourself in the biggest goddamn chair there is and command the oceans of democracy for which you've literally dismantled Alberta when it came to health, education, people's rights to protest and voice their concerns over how people want things to go, because it doesn't matter to you. But yet, you're a civil servant whose ass got the job through means of votes in Alberta. You're hired by the public. Perhaps it's about time you learn that it's not okay to do what you're doing, pandemic or not. I don't remember ever being consulted on cuts to AISH or other programs that people may need. I don't ever remember being called or even contacted by Sahani about certain resources being scrapped. I have autism and ADHD, buddy. But you ain't my buddy. You're the worst epitome of fucking nightmarism that I have ever seen in any politician from the time I came to Alberta. And that was 20 years ago. You, Mr. Kenney, your whole entire crew, I wonder if they ever give it second thought at night to the members of their family or their households, the ones that are actually poor, about their disabled sons or daughters. Because when you hurt my community, you're also hurting your own. Do you really care about those that are in your party? I don't think you really do, because if you hadn't have gone after people with disabilities or seniors, or people's pensions, education, I bet you anything, people will be a lot more happier with you. No, instead you decided to go with rich oil fields, which, like the dinosaurs, since oil is a form, or what is left over of what is rotten from the dinosaurs as they rotted so many years ago, formed your oil fields and what have you. That includes plant life and other proteins that might have merged together to make that oil field, the oil sands of Alberta, to line your pretty little rich pockets, all of you. But no, your blunder on the war room, excuse me while I scratch my ear, your blunder on Bigfoot, your blunder on the Canadian Rockies here in Alberta by allowing an Australian coal mining company to come and dismantle our Rockies by blowing off the tops of mountains. I've seen the devastation of open pit mining. If anyone were to ever go to Port Hardy today, there is an old mine that was open pit. There is a huge lake for which nobody can get into. It was better known as Utah Mines. They closed down in the 80s once the coal ran out or things started to shut down. And jobs were at a loss in the 80s and 90s on the island. Yes, I remember those days. Because the reminiscences of that hole is still there, along with the mountains and mountains of rubble from digging in the dirt just to get the coal or whatever they were going for. Sure, trees grow up around it, but that hole is still there. And there's miles and miles and miles of holes and what have you on that landscape. It will take thousands of years for it to heal, if it ever does properly. Yeah. So, as a person who's seen everything from clear cut logging to mining experience, I'm here to tell you, open pit minings ruin the environment for thousands of years. It's been over 60 years since Utah Mines shut down in Hardy, and the hole is still there, and you can see it to this day. When it comes to clear-cut logging, as much as it's quite okay and fine and dandy to go and plant trees, but when you cut down old-growth forests, you never see those trees again. And it takes hundreds of years just for one tree to become a full maturity and to be able to be considered salvageable, to be put into planks or whatever, paper, whatever, to serve the populace. A lot of BC is second growth. Old growth forests are dying. So, again, just to put it bluntly, stop ruining my province. Stop ruining communities, jobs, health. Stop ruining things, because every time you put your fingers on anything, you ruin it, Jason. And you're only embarrassing Alberta. Step down. Because you're embarrassing Alberta. You're ruining Alberta. And Kenney, your UCB bunch across Canada is an embarrassment to Canada. Okay? You're an embarrassment to Alberta. Step down, buddy. You make for a lousy premier. Because any premier with any amount of conscience would never, ever take from the backs of its most vulnerable. They would add to the community by making their lives better, but no, you decide to take it away because you don't think we're freaking smart enough to understand what the hell is going on. Well, I'm here to tell you, I'm one who does. And frankly, I find you a very disgusting little man. Yeah, I swore in this video, but I'm pissed. I'm pissed that you would do something like trying to say you support disability community by putting different oddly paired socks on and say something about Down syndrome. When I know for a goddamn fact what your party truly is about. I may not be a genius, such as most autistics are, but I'm smart enough to know when somebody's trying to pull the wool over my eyes. I'm smart enough to know when people are trying to berate or fool me. Perhaps that's because of a lifetime of bullies like you. But really, I wonder who in your caucus will ever see this. I wonder who in your caucus, because I understand there's a little bit of breakdown in your constituencies. I wonder why there's breakdown. Perhaps some of them have developed maybe a little bit of a heart, perhaps even a conscience, something you're lacking. As far as I'm concerned, if you're going to be a leader, you need a conscience, you need empathy. You need humility, compassion, all of that. Something you lack. Because you didn't care when you denied funding to the blind centers. You showed that through means of going after AISH and PDD and FMS. You showed that through means of, during COVID, on threatening nurses on their jobs. Hope you know, in the last couple of days, at least 5 times within an hour, I hear an ad coming up on some of the radio stations I listen to. I'm not going to say which one, but they're advertising for nurses on Vancouver Island. And nurses, it's well worth your venture if you choose to go that road, because Northern Vancouver Island is the most gorgeous part of the island you'll ever come across. Guess where I might retire when I get older? I would make a huge suggestion as a personal caregiver and say, pack your bags, ladies, and get your ass to the Northern Vancouver Island, because they're screaming for nurses out there. Have fun, enjoy, and look me up. And I'll tell you some of the most beautiful beaches to go to and venture, because I know where to go if you choose to go and work out there. I also know people out there. Over half my family's there. So, if you want a good job, may not be as good, but at least it's a job, and it's better than being in Alberta. So, nurses, go ahead and pack your bags for the island. They're screaming for nurses out there. Same with you, doctors. Northern Vancouver Island is the best place to live as far as I'm concerned, if you're looking for adventure. But you make your own entertainment when you live there. Furthermore, Jason Kenney, if you think that denying funding or lessening the funding to technologies and or other resources which help develop Alberta, the only reason why BC is screaming is because everyone packed their bags and moved to BC and other provinces. And now they're miles ahead of us. Meanwhile, you brought your ideologies that are so archaic that the dinosaurs are fucking laughing in their graves because of you. Oil this, oil that. You know what? You need to diversify in all areas, including the disability community. There's workers in this community that, with the right resources and the right supports, could easily work. And on that note, that also equals out a better strengthened economy within our province when you diversify in all areas, not just oil. Because every time you go after oil, the oil dries up. Companies have to move on because it's only short term. Might last a few years here, a few years there when they find a vein or two. But reality, pull your head out of your ass. Because it's a dying industry. Develop in technology, develop in other resources. Oil is dead. Now, moving on, we need to invest in our parks. Makes me come to one question. what did you do with the disability parks? Oh yeah, wait. There was one park that you basically closed down, and it was a disability park. Oh, wait. You sold it off, claiming nobody was using it. It's kind of hard if you have a disability and you don't drive to get to places like this. Hence why I would suggest that we bring in programs and what have you to help both adults and children of all ages to get to these parks to enjoy them. That goes for places like Kananaskis. Yeah. I wonder what you did with that one. I haven't heard anything on it. Because I know it's under provincial. So, Jason, here's one autistic that's going to tell you one thing. I don't support Autism Speaks. Never have. The puzzle piece is an insult. I side with autistic. Because that's what I am. I'm a middle-aged autistic lady who is also neurodiverse. Those are the words that you use. Autistic and neurodiverse. And furthermore, when it comes to my community, don't insult us by inciting the puzzle piece in Autism Speaks. Don't insult us by pretending you know everything about autism, because you don't. Don't claim you support us when you start talking about Autism Speaks and ABA therapies, because as far as I'm concerned, we autistics have enough to put up with trying to make you neurotypicals comfortable. Just so you can be around us. ABA practices are a form of conversion therapy for autistic children for which unwanted behaviors such as rocking, which is better known as stimming, are punished, and the autistic is trained to have wanted behaviors such as whatever looks normal to you, which neurotypicals are more comfortable around. So we're taught to mask. Yes, we can be ourselves as long as we can be one of you neurotypicals. Because we have to make you feel comfortable, because the way we are is not okay in your society. But we have to live in this fucking world too. So if we're going to ban conversion therapies for the LGBT community, perhaps we should also ban certain therapies that are not scientifically promoted or proven to help people with autism or other neurodiverse issues. We should stop making people feel ashamed of how they are or who they are just because society claims that how we are or who we are makes them uncomfortable. That's how you start with PTSD, social anxiety, and other mental health anxiety disorders. In that note, we should also ban seclusion rooms, because those barbaric practices are considered abuse. If a child was shoved into a box at home, it would be called abuse, but we as society call it, you guessed it, therapy. On that note, how'd you like it if I shoved your little dumpy ass into a box and called it therapy? You wouldn't like it either, I bet. So, Mr. Kenney, don't insult my community. Don't tote Autism Speaks. Don't light up anything blue. Light it up any other color but blue. If you are going to tote anything autism on Autism Awareness Month, talk about A4A autism from Ottawa or BC. Talk about the neurodiverse community as a whole. And get to know us. Perhaps over a Zoom meeting. You might find that we are actually not so scary. But I doubt if you'll ever do that. As a matter of fact, I bet you anything you'll be toting Autism Speaks Up the Yin Yang and promoting ABA therapies. Now, that's not saying that I am against therapy in general. If the stimming motion is harming others or the person itself, therapy is a must. But it has to be proven. So far, what I've seen in most autistic related sites around the world, even Canada, there isn't an ounce of autistic person in the adult community that will ever support these practices or Autism Speaks. The puzzle piece is an insult. Light it up blue is an insult. And to reframe the language of funny you don't look, stop saying it. It's an insult. Because not all disabilities are visible. Not everyone's going to be in a group home. Not everyone's going to be in a chair. Not everyone's going to have a cane or hearing aids or whatever other thing that symbolizes I'm disabled. So, as one leader to another, smarten up. Because you, Mr. Kenney, embarrass Alberta. It's time to step down. Stop ruining people's lives. Have a good day.